12:38.
Town board meeting, please rise for pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Jeff Renahan, First Ward.
Bill Carlos, Second Ward.
Ann Berger, Third Ward.
Michael Safone, Fourth Ward.
Stefan Krakauer, Fifth Ward.
Ann Shushin, Sixth Ward.
Jessica Moran, Deputy Town Clerk.
Jim Nelson, Attorney for the town.
John Bailey, Town Supervisor. Welcome everybody to tonight's meeting. On tonight's agenda, the first item on the agenda is a public hearing for Town Code Amendments Cannabis Retail. Number 2 is a public hearing on the MS4 Annual Report. Number 3 is a public hearing zoning map amendment, all space self-storage facility. 4, accept the retirement of Dolores Spiro, youth aide with the police department. 5, appoint Trevor Eichler as a laborer with the sewer department. 6, approve Cars for Cause car show at Eastdale Village. 7, approve a tax surcharge, Poughkeepsie Hopewell Junction LLC. 8, authorize agreement with MJM Television and Video Productions. 9, authorize Central Hudson Street Light Authority for College View Avenue. And if anybody who wants to speak that's on Zoom tonight, please use the function of raising your hand so we can unmute you. With that, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for any item on the agenda except for the public hearings.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Doreen? We'll unmute you in 1 second. Go ahead, Doreen.
Okay, thank you. So yes, I have a couple of questions. For number 7, the tax cert, is that for Orthopedic Associates?
Correct.
So why is it that they are getting a reduction of $1.6 million? Being reduced from 9.1 million to 7.5 million. And it looks like it goes out through 26, 27 years. So, I mean, I've heard you say at times, it's if businesses are empty and, they're not making use of the property, but what's the reason for this?
The stipulation was this, it was over assessed. They were in front of court. I don't know if this one got an appraisal or not, Doreen. But I did question this one, and the fact that it went down, I was surprised for what it was, but when you look at the size of the building for being 9 million to 7.5 million, to me, it doesn't seem like it's that much out of line to what it was, what it should be. I mean, Lexington Club, the Galleria, which is right next door, is assessed at 7 million, which is a full apartment complex.
Well, I guess I'm looking at it like our assessment went up yet again. So in only a 2-year period, our house with no improvements went up $117,500. And then when you look on here and you see that, a business that appears to be a thriving business, they get a reduction of $1.6 million for the next 3 years.
And Doreen, I did ask that question also because of the fact that when you go by, it seems extremely busy. And they said it also goes, besides the fact that they have to bring in their sheets, it goes by the value of what the building actually is. So we had that discussion and they felt that this was the best they could come up with this time. That it was probably over-assessed from back when they first opened.
Okay, my other question is about number 8, the agreement with the MJM Television and Video. So is that to be taking over all of the taping that's now being done by town employees for,
No, Doreen, MJM has been doing this for the past 2 or 3 years. They've taken over from the town employees. They do the videos out at all the recreation events and different events in town hall, and all those videos are done. That's what they've been doing for the last 3 years. Yeah.
Okay, so there aren't any more town employees who do it and instead get overtime or comp time? That's in place of that?
Yeah, we haven't had them in probably 3 years. They have somebody in here that does the taping and takes care of the television channel and the community channel and so forth, and then they also do all the taping out of all the events.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody have anything else that they would like to discuss? If not, motion to resume the rules.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to open public hearing number 1, Town Code Amendments Cannabis Retail.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody here who would like to speak on that item? Anybody? This is your chance to speak on the code amendment for cannabis. If not, make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Okay, why are we tabling this again? Are we not ready to vote on this?
It's an open discussion from here. Some members brought up different items they wanted to see addressed. And there's different items in there, was brought up at the last meeting, was possibly putting in a floating zone amongst changing, I think it was a couple of the distances from buildings and things. And everybody was sending information back and forth to Mike Welty down in planning on what they would like to see in it. And this was brought up at the last meeting that we were discussing of possibly having to bring it back because there was major changes. But it is the time for the board to discuss what they think they want to do.
All right, how long is this new code proposals gonna take?
I think Mike was working on drafting it with the code update
I
committee,
think he's
right?
gonna get back to us with it.
Well, we're taking the feedback from what people have concerns with as far as, you know, the whole thing about like having standalone buildings was one of the issues that some people were looking at doing. Then there was distances, like I said, to residential, and what it was doing was limited amount of properties that would be able to apply for it. So it was going back and forth to see if we should look to see if we could lighten up some of the rules so it'd be able to have more places to be able to apply for it.
Jeff, am I correct? Because one of the emails I saw from Mike was if we went with some of the changes and he went to the county and got a mapping list that it would make it, not impossible, it would limit it to very few locations.
With what we have now.
Yeah.
That's why they wanted to go back to the board to try to see if we can lighten up some of the requirements so there would be more places to have these.
All
So
right.
it's very limited right now.
Our interest is in having more marijuana selling points or stores, right?
No, not more stores, Bill.
Just trying to
more
make it-
availability of locations because, as Jeff said, the way it is, so many feet from a school, so many feet from a church.
I
and all this,
understand
it may limit it to only 6 properties in the whole town where we could possibly put one.
So-
And we thought it was a little
So
restrictive.
we want to
So
make
right-
it more than 6 properties?
No, we want to allow the opportunity.
So right now, the only zone that was proposed put in was business highway. Do we still have a business shopping center zone, or is that all business highway now?
No, we have business shops, so.
So if it's standalone, like the, and I don't know what Price Chopper is that business shopping center, or is that just highway?
I think it's shopping center.
So like the new McDonald's would be a location where I think something that, because I think Jeff, you were talking about the standalone.
Yeah.
So that would be something where that might fit. So I think we might want to look at the business shopping center, the heavy industrial and light industrial. And then I don't know, Ann, if you want it in Arlington Town Center.
I haven't heard anything, so
Are you okay with it in Arlington Town Center?
I'd have to run it by the bid and see if they're okay with it.
I thought you were in favor of them though.
No, I did not say I was in favor of having it there, but
Yeah, I just think
You have
it's
the college right there.
extremely restricted at this point to where it is. And the other problem that falls in with these restrictions are some of these malls, plazas, shopping centers, their mortgage company wouldn't allow them to have it either. So on top of that, that limits them to even more. So even if we only have, say, 6 locations where they couldn't go, out of those 6, 3 may not be viable locations for them. So I think we have to look deeply to make sure we open it up enough that the person's coming isn't restricted to one property, because that's not making it, I don't think, fair what the whole law was meant to be.
I also think we just need to be careful because there's a lot that's going on now, a lot of moving parts. So the legal ones, there's issues with in some places. I think New York City is having problems with legal and illegal. And so a lot of this is, the change in the law has made it so that there's, by decriminalizing it, people selling it illegally don't have much fear anymore, it appears. So
No,
that-
because there's one on every single corner.
Right, so
Yeah.
this is becoming kind of a mess.
It is a
So-
mess.
in any event, I think the floating zone.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not gonna be a mess here, because, I mean, you guys have it right here, that if you get caught, it's in the tobacco section, if you get caught selling marijuana without the license, you're gonna lose your special use permit to have a tobacco store there.
So it's gonna be all fine?
No, it's gonna
And
be
here's
really
the- Here's the
tough.
thing, people are selling it illegally in the town of
Of
Poughkeepsie.
course
as
they're
it is.
selling it illegally in the.
Out in the open, out in the open.
Yeah,
So the
that's
idea-
the
So the
concern.
idea that it'll be okay because it says here that it'll be okay is
If we're
ridiculous,
gonna
it's
be
ignorant.
closing, if we're gonna close down your tobacco store
But Ann,
for selling it, it's gonna,
if it's not a tobacco store, it's different also. It could be sold anywhere. So that's the problem. The police department doesn't have an enforcement avenue right now. But what we did ask Mike on another note is to move this forward because they are starting to issue a lot of permits. We need to make this move pretty quick. So if we want, to have it available, we have to get this in place soon.
And I do think that, especially if there's a concern about how many places we allow it, I think making it a floating zone, if you allow for more possibilities, making a floating zone is a better idea because it gives the town board more control over the decision, which, given what is going on, we should make sure that wherever they land, we're okay with it, that it's fully vetted.
And that would be
And-
to have
and
floating zone, so we just
The
have
floating
a
zone. Floating
floating
zone-
zone, and it has to be approved each location by the town board?
Come through the town board, yeah.
I thought
There's
that was
not-
already in there.
No,
Or
it's
was it
not.
approved by the
No.
planning board?
No, I think it was approved by the planning board.
Okay.
Right, and that's the problem, with a special use permit, they can end up anywhere, really, and that's what happens, because once they give one here, they gotta give one similarly situated over there and over there and over there. So if we wanna actually make it so that these end up operating correctly and properly and cleanly, there should be, I think a floating zone makes more sense. You can then open it up to more properties. You could say Arlington Town Center, and you wouldn't have to be worried that it could go anywhere in there, because you could say, yeah, that property doesn't fit. This property would be a better option. So it would allow, I think, for more flexibility and hopefully a better result. Because I don't want these in my area, but my bigger concern is that wherever we put them, that we do it right. And a lot of communities are not doing it right, and New York State sort of rolled this out in a really sloppy manner. And the way they're giving out these licenses, I don't completely agree with, because the criteria are backwards. It doesn't make complete sense, because.
Right, and let's hope that those ones just fail. And
Right, they're
crumble.
trying to fix a problem that they believe that was created a long time ago. So they're handing these out in a way that doesn't, I think, necessarily make for the best rollout, and the rollout has been sloppy. So I think as a town, if we do this as a floating zone, we have the proper criteria, then it's vetted by the town board, we are less likely to make a mistake. And that's my biggest concern. I get it, regardless of whether I like it or not, it will be here. That being said, wherever it goes, I'd like it to be done correctly. I'd also like our police to have the proper authority to make it so that our town doesn't become the place where everybody sells everything to anybody.
But they already do.
No, I know, but that's why I say we need to do this, and then we need to go further with what we do and how we do it. Because New York City can't figure it out.
And New York State can't
Other
figure it
states
out.
and communities can't figure it out. We could maybe lead the way and get it right versus get it wrong.
New York
So-
State currently is actually arguing over the fact whether they can enforce the illegal sales or not. Between the cannabis board and I think it's the state, we're arguing that the way the law is written, both of them can't even agree.
And ultimately, when the guy is selling it at a storefront on any road in the town of Poughkeepsie, what you do is that tax that we would have gotten, that just dissipates because the illegal sales becomes less expensive and easier, and that's where people go. The legal ones, you'll get some revenue, but they're putting people out of business. The people who follow the rules will be put out of business if we don't do this right. So that's my feeling. The floating zone makes more sense. It gives us the ability to try to not screw this up. And adding a couple more zones would probably be a better option, because otherwise they're all just pretty much in my ward and Jeff's ward and Mike's ward. Mike and I weren't big fans of it. I'm not gonna speak for Mike, but if you said Arlington Town Center, but.
I can talk to them and see if they're interested in it.
Well, here's the thing though, if I talk to the people in my neighborhood and they say no, does that mean that they can't be in my neighborhood?
No, I'm
Is that
talking
how
to-
that works? Because if that's how that works, then I'll talk to the people in my neighborhood and see if they want them.
I'll
And if
talk
not,
to
then
the
they,
business
then they,
district.
but it's not their decision. What I'm saying is, if you allow it as a floating zone, you can then avoid it going somewhere where it shouldn't have gone. With a special use permit through the planning board, they'll just go wherever they go.
Does the floating zone come back to this board to decide, or does it go back to
This
planning?
board.
This board.
Comes here.
Yep.
And this stuff is popping up. There was one that popped up basically, and it looked like a storage area on a place on Route 9.
We were able to
It's been
close-
shut
We
down.
were able to close that one down.
Right, it's been shut down, but this stuff is popping up
It opened up in
everywhere.
a store, in basically a garbage shed.
Yeah, that's what I say. And you go down to New York City and it's in every like nook and cranny, and they can't control
And
it,
the
so.
impression I got from Mike that he's pretty close. I think by the next meeting, which there's a week gap, we should be able to set a date again.
Okay.
So it's gonna come up on the next meeting,
The
or?
next meeting, we should be setting a date for a public hearing because there's that many changes to it.
But let's keep in mind that the real issue is the stores that are already selling it.
Oh,
The
yes.
tobacco shops that sell it everywhere, on every corner, you can get it at any time, and that's what really needs to be regulated, not the.
Well, the
this-
real issue is New York State as usual.
Yes,
Horrible
yes,
job
but like as it
in
comes to
what
our
they do.
town code, how will we deal with the shops that sell it now? I mean, because you can buy it anywhere at any time. Yes, chief? Oh, it's the mobiles, it's everything.
Yeah,
right.
Everywhere, every store, there's no shortage of it. You can get it at any, and that's, I think that's the bigger concern about,
Well, the other thing is.
is
it-
less the dispensary, because once the dispensary comes, it'll be a product that is
Regulated.
regulated, approved, you know, we know what's in it, you know, it'll be the ingredients listed, and now it's, so yeah, it's a mess.
Well, there also
But that's
should,
what's-
there also should have been some.
And we have
sort
no
of
regulation on that
There should have
now.
been some
That's
sort of-
what's scary.
Education with this, because when I was over in the court, I had people come in that couldn't even stand up, and they were, one woman in particular was on Xanax, and her first statement was, I have a prescription. And my statement was, alcohol is legal, but you can't drink and drive. The idea that you have a prescription for Xanax and you took 7 of them doesn't mean that you can drive. One of the things that I've seen with this now is that because it's been decriminalized, people believe that you can now do it wherever you want to do it, smoke it wherever you want to smoke it. You drive down the road and people are smoking, and it's not a good idea. If you saw somebody driving down the road with a bottle of whiskey, you'd call the police instantly and everybody would be like horrified. Nowadays, people drive down the road smoking a joint, and for whatever reason, there's the feeling that it's okay. And that's, I think, a problem of how New York State rolled this out. They did not do a good job.
Well, remember, medicinal marijuana has been legal for years, and there hasn't really
Right,
been an
right.
issue. So that woman's prescribed her Xanax, and she thinks she can take it. She's just sounds
No, I
like an
know, but-
idiot.
yes.
And then the medicinal woman, you know, she has it for cancer or pain or whatever, and Curaleaf down in Newburgh's been open for a long time. You don't see any issues with that. You're right, it became more of an issue, but these are kind of one-off situations, like people are just stupid. You know, you can't like,
I bet you I could drive down the road on any given day and like,
oh yeah, 100%.
more than one off.
Right.
And I guarantee you I would not see the same amount of people driving down with a bottle of beer or a bottle of whiskey.
Well,
That's what
they
I
keep the
say.
beer
There
down
seems
low.
to be a need for more education in the state as far as a clarity that it has been decriminalized, but here are the times where you can't use it.
But I'd hate
Here are
to
times where you
penalize the
shouldn't use it.
people that are gonna get the license and do it the right way and make a business of it.
people that are gonna use it the right way.
Capitalize it and
Yeah.
use it in the right way, go and get it, go home and smoke it, just like they go to the liquor store. My thought is, you don't wanna make it too restrictive that people can't put one somewhere, like
Right.
it's,
Well, that's
it
what.
seems like we're trying to block everyone.
No, but that's where if you did it as a floating zone and opened it up into more of the districts, you'd have more opportunities. But
That's our
you'd be
choice.
able to decide that some of these places don't fit because right there is a bad idea, but all these other properties in that district.
But then
would
what do
fit.
we do about all the stores that are already there?
Well,
That the state is
State
fighting
has
over
to.
that right now, because I said, it was in the paper just the other day that, the governor is saying that they put something in place to cover it, and then the cannabis law, or vice versa, is saying there is nothing in place to do it. So they're working on that. They have to address that illegal part. The best thing we can do right now is use building code violations.
Right.
Or,
Any way to
improper
kind of
fixes to close
give
them
them
down.
violations.
Yeah.
New
Building
York-
or zoning?
And either one, if we can get away with
See,
either
New York,
one.
New York State has screwed this up like they screw up a lot of things.
Yes.
When people say, well, the state allows it, so it's okay, that's never good, like, following New York State is never a good idea. That's why I think we should, on our own, figure out the best way to do this and do it that way. Versus worrying, if we do it too quickly, we'll screw it up. And we don't want to make it so restricted, because literally, the way it is right now, it would be in my ward, Mike's ward, or Jeff's ward. Two of us have been against it. If you want to poll people in your neighborhood and see if they like it, that's not really how that works.
But you're
But-
one person saying you don't want it in your ward.
No,
So
but-
you get to rule for your whole ward too?
No, but I didn't say I'm gonna go back and ask people in my neighborhood if they want a cannabis store. You just said you're gonna ask the Arlington bid if they want a cannabis store there.
See if they
It's
would
not-
be supportive of it, yes.
Right, but whether they are or they're not, doesn't mean that it can't be there. In any event, if we allow it in more districts,
Except
business
for
shopping
yours
center.
and Mike's and Jeff's.
No,
Yeah.
what it said, if you allow it in more districts, business shopping center, light industrial, heavy industrial, maybe Arlington Town Center, you have more opportunities for people, and they will come to us with the ideas. If you only allow it in one district, you put it into a corridor that, like, for better or worse, that's where it's gonna end up. So sometimes there's properties that are not on Route 9 that would be a good fit for development, for certain types of development. If you only allow it in Business Highway, you're sticking it right in that corridor. Regardless of whether you put like so many feet from something or not.
Route 9 is a good corridor. It's right
Why all
there.
businesses are there.
Yeah, put it right over there.
It is and it isn't.
All right,
So,
we make a motion, close the public hearing.
second.
We have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes 7-0. Make the motion, open public hearing number 2, the MS4 annual report.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Is there anybody who'd like to comment on the MS4 report?
Doreen's got it.
Doreen, I see your hand up.
Okay, I guess I'm unmuted.
Yep.
Okay, thanks. So, every year I comment on the stormwater report, and I will likely offer some written comment by the close of the comment period on May 12th, but I want to bring up something that I usually say every year, is that the town really needs to do a better job inspecting and monitoring construction projects. I mean, I can drive by some of these sites and I can see erosion and sediment control issues. And sometimes it's week after week. Now, I know the town has said in response that they have to, that they receive weekly reports from a lot of these construction sites. But either the sites are not being filled out accurately, or the issues are being noted on the reports, but just not corrected. Because when you can drive by a site like the Hudson Heritage, and you see the silt fencing all, down on the ground, or you can see daylight underneath it, it's clearly not doing the job it was intended to do. And like I said, this is just stuff you can see from the road. It's not even going on the site. Who knows what's happening, further into these projects. I'm just talking about what you can see from the road. So, again, we need to be doing a better job of inspecting and monitoring for compliance. Thank you.
Thank you, Doreen. Is there anybody else that would like to discuss the MS4 report? Make the motion, close public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Renihan.
Be resolved, the town board of town of Poughkeepsie does hereby accept the draft storm water annual report prepared by the town of Poughkeepsie Director of Municipal Development. Be it further resolved that said report is filed in the town clerk's office for review and comments by the interested party. It has been posted on the town's website. Be it further resolved that the legal notice of the public hearing was posted on April 14, 2023, and published in the Poughkeepsie Journal, April 20th, 2023. And be it further resolved that on May 3rd, 2023, a public hearing was held at a regular scheduled meeting in Town Hall. And be it further resolved that the public review the comment period ends at 4 p.m. on May 12th, 2023, when all written or oral comments are to be submitted. And be it further resolved that the town board does direct the Director of Municipal Development to review the comments and prepare the filings for the final report, which is June 1st, 2023. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, second. Any further questions on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Resolution number 3.
Make a motion to open public hearing number 3, zoning map amendment, all space self-storage.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Doreen, go first, unmute Doreen, Tim.
All right, thank you. So there's going to be disturbance of a stream and wetlands on the project site. And I can't figure out why that it's stated that the mitigation that's proposed for this disturbance is going to compensate for the buffer area disturbance. To me, it just seems like it's inadequate, because they're going to be disturbing a total of about 21,500 feet, and the mitigation is only 1,542 square feet. So, you know, it just doesn't seem adequate. And wetland restoration on its own has a poor success rate. So this really is, to me, seems like nothing more than window dressing, that they have some mitigation proposed. And why the applicant says that they're going to get permit coverage from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, if the town's going to rely on the Army Corps to monitor the success of the restoration, well, good luck. The Army Corps is likely just going to see this as a small project and won't be doing any monitoring. And the reality is that the town's natural resources are just going to disappear. You know, they're talking about culverting a stream. In other places, people are talking about daylighting streams because they realize the value. But also, there's Blanding's turtles, according to the DEC. The project is located within or near the threatened Blanding's turtles. So, again, the applicant and the town, the applicant should be directed by the town to ensure that all requirements outlined by the DEC are not only implemented, but, you know, kept up. So there needs to be inspections to make sure that they're being adhered to during construction. And the Hudsonia biodiversity study that was prepared for the town says that, you know, habitat loss and degradation threatens Blanding's turtles in Dutchess County. It's also endangered Indiana bats. So the only thing for that is that they're not going to cut trees during the summer roosting period. But that doesn't help in the long term, because then the trees are gone. And trees are another important habitat and a natural resource. So town has, you know, a natural resources inventory now. They have open space plan. There's the Hudsonia biodiversity study. But, you know, when it comes right down to it, we just seem to be constantly losing natural resources in the town. So things are good to have, but, you know, I don't know that it's really helping. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Doreen. Tim, unmute Kelly. Kelly, go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, sorry, Mr. Supervisor, I just needed to unmute. This is Kelly Leibold with KARC Planning Consultants. This application was before this board about a year ago, where we applied for a rezone of a small portion of the back of the site from RM to IL, which is consistent with the front piece, which is all space storage. The applicant, myself, we've been working in very close collaboration with the town's wetland consultants, and actually creating a mitigation plan that improves the quality of the wetland, and have reworked the site plan, again, in collaboration with the wetland consultant and the town engineer. The town planning board was empowered with completing a coordinated seeker review, which they did complete, and we did receive our negative declaration, which I believe you have a copy of, which brings us back to your board for the rezone of the project. And then, of course, we go back to the planning board to finalize site plan approval and any final conditions that the planning board may have. I understand and heard Doreen's comments. I think they're more appropriate for the planning board but happy to sit with her offline and go through the mitigation that we've developed, which again is in close collaboration with the town's wetland consultant.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak about this? Come on up, sir.
Hello, everybody.
David,
My name is Alejandro Ceballos.
speak in the other microphone.
is this-
Sorry about that.
No, that's all right. My name is Alejandro Ceballos. I live at 238 North Grand Avenue. I'm pretty much right behind where they're gonna build. So my concern still is the same as before when I came here and everything like that, as far as like the aesthetics about a building being in front of my home and seeing it, and noise level, lighting. I wish I could share with you a photo that I have of it. I can see the lighting from what's there now and everything like that. So I can only imagine what it's going to look like when there's a building closer to my home. And if the lighting becomes an issue, noise from people coming in and out. I don't know if it's a 24-hour facility.
I think you can access it with
They
a
can
gate
access it?
card.
Okay. So again, like noise level, and then further down, they want to make an access road to it for emergency purposes and everything like that. I mean, with that, it's just like anything. People have an access to another place, and people can walk through it and walk onto, this, like, my side of the road where my house is and everything. Currently, there's a place next to where I live that they made an access road for like the sewer. It's for the mobile homes, like way behind my house, but still, like, it's accessible. Like, people walk through there now and stuff like that. Ride their bikes through there, motorbikes, whatever, everything.
Well, I hear what you're saying, that the planning board can actually have, at that meeting, we could have them put trees in and fix the lighting and stuff. Because this is resident multifamily now. They could put a multifamily in there, you'd have a lot more noise.
Right.
So, I mean,
But I mean, with this, I mean, I'm saying as far as like, I don't agree with them, changing into like a light industry, right? That's what they want to do.
yeah.
And everything like that. Because again, for me, would be, again, seeing the back of a building.
Well, that's what I'm saying, at the planning board stages, they could have trees put in, express your concerns there, trees can be put in, so you can't see the buildings.
Where's your house?
238 North Grand.
So I have a question logistically. Mike Welty, I think can you unmute Mike Welty? So when someone comes to the town board and says, I want to do X, Y, Z, we're going to rezone it, we're going to do all this landscaping, we're going to keep the buildings here, we're not going to use this part. They give us all this really like nice picture. When they go to planning, when we rezone it, we don't do we rezone it with all that built into the as criteria, or are we just strictly it's going from residential multifamily to light industrial, and then it goes over to planning with a clean slate where there's no qualifications as to what's got to be done from the town board?
I don't think it was over.
Can I respond?
Yeah.
I'd be happy to. The planning board has actually worked quite extensively on this application. And I know Alejandro has come in the past and taken a look at earlier versions of the site plan. I don't know that he's come to see the most recent version, but there's been quite a lot that's been done, specifically in response to those concerns that I think, really have come a long way. In addition to the natural buffer that's there, there'll be extensive plantings along Grand Avenue on the applicant side of what's existing there. That will do a lot. The access point is an emergency only access. There is no general access to that. It will be gated. Obviously, we looked at lighting and all of those other things. So to get to the negative declaration that the planning board did reach, which is how it's now back to the town board for this public hearing and ultimately for a vote on the zoning change, a lot has already happened. So if you haven't already looked at any of those materials, I encourage you to do so. And I'd be happy to talk to you about those things. Same is true as to Doreen's comments earlier about the wetland. I mean, Aspen Environmental, Carol Knapp is our environmental consultant. If there are any concerns about the wetland mitigation that's been proposed, it certainly can put you in touch with Carol, and she can more than adequately explain all that's been done. So it's many months of work, and in this case, the applicant has really worked with us to make a better project. So just want you to be aware of those things.
All right, so let me just ask my question again, so
Okay.
when we rezone it from
Yep.
multifamily to light industrial, there are no qualifications or criteria that the applicant has to follow from the town board. It just goes back to the planning board to do what they're gonna do. Is that correct? Or is this?
That is correct.
So what we're seeing here, where you say there's gonna be bushes on this side, the tree, we have pictures of the height of the trees and things like that. None of that actually has to there's no requirement that any of that would actually occur after it leaves our hands, right?
That's true, although I think the volunteers of the planning board who work very long hours at those meetings would say that they didn't do that for no reason, right? They did it because they are trying to make a better project, and so I think the site plan that you have before you is what they would intend to act upon when they finally approve the site plan.
So if we said we were gonna approve this based on the site plan we're seeing and it can't get any less restrictive, would that hold merit to you?
You can, but it's, I would say, completely unnecessary at this point, but if you want to do that, you're welcome to do that.
It should, because this gentleman has come in because this is where he lives. I don't live over there, so I make a decision and it goes away and I think we did a good thing, and then I see him walking down the street and he says, nothing that you said happened. And I would feel really bad. That's why I say, that's my question, is when
Yeah, no,
we
I understand your question. I would too.
We see pictures that people show us and we go, oh, that looks great. I just was curious as to, does any of that, so there's really none of that is actually in writing coming out of the town board level. It just goes back to the planning board. And I'm not trying to say the planning board won't do their job or they don't do it well. It's just that the pictures we're being shown is not any sort of reality until the planning board decides that it is. And things can change. So the line of trees could be, and again, there's pictures that show the height of the trees and things like that. So it could go from mature trees to like little saplings. It could go from, some sort of thick, like landscaping that's gonna be year round to they plant something that in the fall, the leaves are gone and this gentleman looks at the back of the building.
I can see clear across, like in the fall and winter and everything, I can pretty much see clear across the side.
Right.
And everything like that, so, yeah, I get it, summertime comes, the foliage comes in and everything like that, but again, for me, I can still see through there. Again, I wish I could show you the pictures and stuff like that from across my deck.
Well, the plantings, the new plantings that will go in, of course, will be evergreen because of that very reason. To the question, Stefan, theoretically, what you're saying is correct. The planning board, I suppose, could go in and change all of those things if they wanted to before site plan was approved. I just can't imagine a scenario that would ever happen.
But Mike, they've seen this numerous times already, so it's not like it's come to us for a first time and going to them for a first time. They've looked at it.
No, it's
given
been
the
many months
recommendation.
before the planning board at this point, and many times back, yes.
And it sounds like you have had conversations with Alejandro already.
We have, and I'd be happy to talk some more to Alejandro if he wants to come to the office and see the latest version of the plans. Always happy to do that.
Well, I know the Pages, when they were here, and Kelly, when she was here for the last time, they worked very hard to make sure the lighting was good.
Again, the picture that I have from the lighting during the fall and the winter time from, what's currently there on the other side.
That's because of the trees aren't.
Correct. Right. But again, even in the summertime, we don't know what that's gonna look like come time when the trees are put in and it takes time for trees to grow and all that. So it's gonna be another 10 years before the trees take place, or if they buy them whenever, like halfway already. But again, lighting, noise.
Well, what I can tell you is, though, if somebody wanted to come in and build a residential multifamily, you'd get the same issue, just
That's true, yeah, 'cause
you're not getting the
people there and
constant noise
everything like that.
24/7,
Yeah,
because you're not gonna have people living there coming in and going all night. So I think, out of the two, this is the best option than having a complex there.
Complex
of
sitting
people.
there behind, right, but then I just,
But we
I'm just
could-
hoping whatever they put or they plan to put, I like to see the plans, and again, if they've been changed, obviously, and see what it's gonna look like. you know, with the grading. I mean, I last time I seen, I know the grading, whatever the grading was, and, you know, how far the building, I don't know what the building Y was it, or W, that was the closest to North Reading?
W.
W.
I think that was more of a concern for me, like I said, that's the one that's like probably closest to my house, or even the other two, the other two that are down there as well. I don't know what the,
This is the one in front of us to be voted on, so
mind if I take it?
Here.
Take it back. Yeah, so like I said, just
that reflects what you brought up, right?
correct.
So the plan that we're gonna vote on reflects what you wanted.
Okay.
Does it?
This is North Grand on, I don't have my glasses, I'm sorry.
yeah, that's-
North Grand is on
The far right.
Far right.
far right, so right over here. Okay.
There's two houses up there, you see in the very far
North,
right.
yeah, okay, I see it now. Oh, so did they move? So they moved the buildings then, right? Because there was one that was closer to where North Grand is on this side. Wasn't there one on this side?
Mike did
Did I look
state
at that
that.
wrong the last time?
Yeah, Mike did say they changed it.
Yeah, he stated that there was change and everything like that, so.
Yeah.
Oh, in here. I don't remember that at all.
No?
There's only the one building on North Grand right now.
Now, but Alejandro said he thinks there was one there.
Yeah, when I looked at it last time, it didn't look like this. I could have sworn there was a building that was closer to like to North Grand, to where the rail trail is and everything like that.
So the existing buildings that show on, I don't know what page it is, there's two existing buildings. Those would be the two houses on the lower right-hand side, is that right? Right here? Here and here?
Yeah. So I remember the building O and building P, the new ones, right? Part of the new ones?
Building O, yep. And building, I can't see that one.
So on page OP1, I think that shows the two houses and then the location of the building.
Looks like they slid the building over as far to the top as they could do.
Yeah.
It's on like the fourth page back.
Well, I guess here would be the question then. There's
This
no,
this definitely looks different than what I've seen before and everything like that, so.
right, so let me ask you this
Yes.
then, Mike. So just south of that building W, there's land. Would this preclude them from adding another building that would be right next to, I think, this gentleman's house?
That's a
He's muted.
setback.
It looks like that's where the wetland buffer is.
Yeah, it's a setback. They can't build there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's out
No,
of,
So, in all honesty,
So it looks like it's been pushed back, like, you know, like Mike said before, like Mike had mentioned before, it looks like they had redone the plan and everything like that. It looks like they pushed everything back, because I remember last time there was a building up here, which was my concern, was closer to North Reading. And it seems like all this is pushed back, because they would have been, where, I don't know what page it is, but where it says RM,
yep.
there would have been a fence there, like a fence that was protecting like some, the wetlands and stuff like that. And then like top right of that was one of the buildings that they had planned to put there.
and in all honesty,
And I don't see it anymore, so.
in the grand scheme of things, with the current zoning, if they put multifamily, that would have a much more significant impact in most cases. Self-storage, I mean, the only better neighbor you could get is maybe a senior center. But the reality is self-storage is a pretty good neighbor because it's usually pretty controlled and it's usually not as high of an impact use. And I don't know if they have 24-hour access to these. Do they?
They usually
Yes.
do, but.
See, there's your
not
house.
objective.
Right, that's what I say.
Yes.
But that's not what it looks like.
I know.
Okay, well, there's all the maps here.
Go to, if you look at
Fourth page.
OP1,
See, I was looking at this one doesn't show, so is this what it is now?
Oh, it's okay.
It's only my sign. I'm doing all this for you and you're not gonna sign on the floor?
When you look at the second page here,
Alejandro, this is your new one.
yeah, and there's his
Yeah.
house.
This is
Oh,
the,
okay, so it is this, so that's,
Yeah.
that's one of my concern right
Yeah,
there.
and above the north door part of the house. You want to set up a time to sit down with Mike, so at least you feel the comfort, he can give you an idea of what size they're putting bushes and things, and discuss the lights to make sure the lights are in the right spot, and set up a time with him to sit down.
Can
at
we
least you
table
feel
this in the
comfortable.
mean Mr.
I
Supervisor?
don't think we have to, I think it's,
No,
I
Alejandro, you
think
could have
they've
these.
worked on it quite a bit.
You could have these. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get
You
it.
don't think we need to table it?
No, I don't think so, no.
And if we
Thank you.
vote on this now, tonight, then this is the plan.
Well, they can tweak
Well-
it, they can still tweak it, that's what Stefan brought up. They can still tweak the plan. If they need more plantings, they can still add more plantings, and this is the.
I just don't wanna push us into something where there's no place to fix
No, they-
something
they
what a
can-
citizen brings in front of us.
No, he can still fix it. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on this public hearing? If not, make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So move that.
Resolution number 3. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie, having held a duly noticed public hearing on the 3rd day of May, 2023 at 7 p.m. at the Town of Poughkeepsie Town Hall, 1 over Rocker Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, on a proposal to amend the zoning map designation of Poughkeepsie, tax parcels 6162-16-860-468 and 6162-02-814518, owned by All Space Self-Storage, located at 231 to 245 North Grand Avenue, and 100 to 120 Salt Point Turnpike, from Residence Multifamily, RM, District, to Light Industrial, IL, designation, and whereas the town board, acting as lead agency for the development of this parcel, and this rezoning, has determined that the adoption of this amendment would not have a significant adverse effect on the environment, and issued a negative declaration, and whereas on April 11, 2023, the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development, pursuant to General Municipal Law S 239-M, advised that the adoption of this amendment is a matter of local concern, and whereas a memo dated March 20th, 2023, was received from the Planning Board conveying a neutral recommendation regarding the adoption of the hearing zoning amendment, and whereas the town clerk has notified the clerks of the surrounding municipalities of this public hearing pursuant to General Municipal Law 239-NN, and whereas legal notice of this public hearing was posted on April 4th, 2023, and published in the Poughkeepsie Journal, excuse me, on April 20th, 2023, now therefore be it enacted pursuant to Article 3, Section 21011 of the Town of Poughkeepsie Code, that the zoning designation of tax parcel 6162-16-8604-68 and 6162-02-814518, excuse me, located on North Grand Avenue and Salt Point Turnpike, Town of Poughkeepsie, consisting approximately of 6.23 acres of land, is hereby amended from residential multifamily, RH, district to light industrial, IL district. And be it further enacted that said local law shall take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. So moved.
Second.
Any motion is second, any further questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby accept with regret the retirement of Dolores Spiro, Youth Aide with the Town of Poughkeepsie Police Department, effective end of business day, May 14th, 2023. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion second, any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 5-1.
Be resolved, the Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby appoint Trevor Enkler to the position of laborer with the Sewer Department at a salary of $19.50 an hour, effective May 22nd, 2023, with a probationary period of no less than 8 nor no more than 26 weeks per civil service law. And be it further resolved, the Town Supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentation required by the Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved.
We have a motion second, any questions on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be it resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby approve the application submitted by Shelby Adrian on behalf of Eastdale Village and Premier Cares Foundation to hold the car show on Sunday, June 4th, 2023, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. with a rain date of Sunday, June 11th, 2023 at Eastdale Village, 48 Eastdale Avenue, and Poughkeepsie, New York. And be it further resolved that a certificate of liability insurance naming the Town of Poughkeepsie as additional insured has been filed with the Town Clerk's Office. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Be resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the settlement of a tax certiorari proceeding instituted by Poughkeepsie Hopewell Junction LLC for property located in the Town of Poughkeepsie designated as tax grid number 6159-03-393037-000 for the 2023 tax assessment roll as shown on the attached consent form order. And be further resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the supervisor or his designee, Town Assessor Jennifer Munn, and Kyle Barnett of Vanderwater LLP to sign such papers as necessary to effectuate said settlement. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 6-1. Be it resolved, the Town of Poughkeepsie is hereby authorized the supervisor to extend the contract with Michael J. Minor, DBA MJM Television Video Productions, to perform video and electronic services through December 31st, 2023, as described on Exhibit A to the contract annexed hereto at a cost of $2,916.66 per month, plus additional service as provided therein. Said contract to be substantially the form annexed. Be it further resolved, the Town Board finds that it would be not in the best interest of the town to solicit alternative proposals or quotations for these services. And be it further resolved, the Town Board finds the service contract as a Type 2 action requiring no environmental review. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions on this one?
So this is renewing what we currently have.
Right.
Okay.
And in order to get it up to, most of these contracts always end at the end of everybody's term, so that's why if you notice, it's up till the end of this year.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Be resolved, the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie is hereby authorized the supervisor to execute a Central Hudson Gas and Electric Corporation street lighting authority order for the installation of LED street light on College Avenue, a copy of which is attached. So moved.
Second.
A motion is second. Any questions?
Yeah, this is obviously in my ward on College Avenue, and this came out of the concerns of some of the neighbors that the street is dark. And also, it's part of the new street design that's coming about because of the Innan Institute being built there. So it's going to attach LED lights to 4 of the poles, and they have had break-ins in the area, so this is a really good thing.
And is it close to the institute since there's no actual address on here? Or is it further down the street?
I think it's actually further down the street, but there is a street redesign coming in with that too, where they want to put a boulevard in and other things. So this was part of looking at the whole street.
Get rid of the roundabouts.
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. That brings us to the end of our agenda. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and ask anybody that speaks to please keep it at 3 minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Anybody like to speak? This is your time to speak, and I ask you please keep it to 3 minutes. Come on up, sir.
Hello, good evening. I'm Larry Trappell, and last time I was here, I talked about observing the deer killing that was done in January by Vassar. So I'm only here tonight to just kind of update and give you the numbers. Through a FOIL request, Vassar doesn't really release this publicly, but through a FOIL request, we get the numbers. First of all, they awarded Vassar the permit to kill 40 deer, and over a period of 3 days in January, after baiting them again for 3 weeks, they've killed 25 deer this time. They don't specify how many they are or they've done it in the past, but they don't specify how many fawns there were, but there were 14 male deer and 11 female deer killed. Again, there are just not that many deer in the preserve on a normal daily basis. And the only reason there's enough deer to kill 25 deer is because they bait them in for 3 weeks. So it's just incredibly self-serving. There is some evidence that the DEC is saying that the epizootic hemorrhagic disease has eased back a little bit. Not as many deer are dying now from that. Depends on the region, the area. But this is another fact that you know how many deer died in our area from that disease. And if more can live and not be subject to that anymore, then it's just a shame that Vassar can go ahead and kill as many deer as they can possibly kill in 3 days. I just really hope that some of the board members, I know a number of you do not approve of this and have tried to tell them before that they shouldn't do it. I hope that this year you can make more of an effort and that the board members will try to stop this kind of unwarranted killing of the animals in the preserve. And that goes along with the fact that Vassar doesn't really care about even their role in the community based on what I talked about at the last meeting when they did the shooting at night right next to the school, in the direction almost of the school, the R. Lourdes school in that area. So I ask for your help and I thank you.
Larry, when do they start the deer kill? Like what month?
They started in January. It has to be done in January.
In January.
Yeah. They do the baiting over a 3-week period starting in December.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Doreen?
So, Stefan, were you joking when you said about the roundabout? Because isn't there a roundabout being proposed for Hooker Avenue and Raymond Avenue?
Yes.
I was joking, just because she said boulevard, so, I mean, a boulevard wouldn't sound like you'd have a roundabout in it, but you never know. Sometimes things seem like they're funny, but people actually do them.
Okay, so, and that's being proposed by the DOT, right?
The roundabout on Hooker Avenue?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And as far as the discussion before about cannabis in the Arlington Town Center, yeah, I don't see why the Arlington bid should be consulted as to, you know, whether or not the board should go ahead and put one in the Arlington Town Center. I don't think they should be different than any other area. And a lot of times people have objections and things are still done. So I don't know why the bid should be anything special. And as far as the gentleman that was there before speaking about the construction at the all space storage site, you know, you have to realize that this is people's, you know, it's people's homes, and telling them that, well, multifamily might be worse, I don't think is really helpful. If there was anything you could have done to ensure that things happen when it gets to the planning board, you know, and that's not optional. You know, you were rezoning the property, and let's face it, there's been a lot of you were on the board in the past when things have happened at the planning board level that you didn't agree with, you thought, you know, wasn't going to happen that way, and it ended up, you know, something different. So, you know, it's not that you're really disparaging the planning board by saying, you know, oh, they're volunteers and they work hard. There still could be issues. Just like the guy last week when he was talking about the noise issue. I think he lived on, was it North Elmendorf, or, you know, when he had the complaint, and, you know, it's obviously the poor guy's been, you know, living with this for a long time. And, you know, Councilman Safone, you told him, well, the police do a good job. Yeah, but he still has a problem.
No,
So, people don't want to hear that it could be worse, or the volunteers of the planning board work hard, or the police do a good job. I mean, when you live there and it's affecting you, it's a problem to you. So, and the last thing I'm going to say about the assessment on our house, and I've said this before, our assessment went up now in 2 years, $117,500. Our house is a little less than 1,500 square feet, 1 bathroom, no improvements. We can afford to pay that. We don't have to make a decision whether we buy food, medicine, pay our taxes. But there's a lot of people in the town that I have to believe are really struggling. And I don't know, like, does it bother you at all? And, when you say, oh, the value of your house goes up, that doesn't help you if you don't want to sell your house and you're only trying to, survive day to day. So, I don't know. It just seems like the assessment's going up. It's not a decrease in taxes. At least it wasn't for us. So, there are people struggling still, and I really think, not enough attention's being paid to that. All right, that's it.
Thanks, Doreen. Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
Michelle Squires is trying to come off of mute, but Tim, do you have to
Where is she?
release her? She's the phone number at the bottom.
She's supposed to raise her hand on.
Well, I think because she's not on Zoom, but on a cell phone directly, she might be a dial-in versus the Zoom.
There's a red line through it, too.
Yes, well, that's
That's
because
a
she's
mute.
muted. Is it possible for you to unmute her, Tim?
Can ask her to unmute, but that won't work with the phone. I think she can hit stars. Let me ask her and see. I'm trying to ask her and see what happens.
She can hit *6 is what he used to say.
Star 6. Give it a shot. Want to ask her? You need to ask her?
No, I'm texting with her.
But can she hear you? Then hit *6.
Right.
Michelle, if you can hear us, try to hit *6.
There she goes.
There you go.
Yay! Yay!
We can hear you. Go ahead, Michelle.
Frustrating. Okay. All right. So if we could back up just a little bit, I did notice that there are about 4 lights that are going to be in Ann Tershin's ward. This may shock you guys, but I do encourage you to look into it, especially Lisa Cobb. LEDs are not FDA approved. And, many of us, have issues with the headlights, and, there are many neighborhood lighting projects that are being rolled out since our comprehensive plans. And I did warn the board about products being sold to the town more than a year ago. So what I'm about to share will and should raise questions involving LED lighting in residential areas, and negative decks should also be in question relating to aspects of projects involving LED light proposals. LEDs are not energy efficient. I know that that's what is said about LEDs. A laser beam does not provide the same quality of illumination as incandescent. So lasers cannot be called energy efficient. It's claimed by the industry that they are because they do not provide the same quality of service as incandescents and HPSs. So the Department of Energy has published a rule that effectively bans incandescents and forces LED light bulbs by making 2 outrageous and provably false claims. That LED light has the same characteristics as incandescent, and that LED visible radiation is safe and causes no adverse health impacts. So LEDs emit a directed energy beam of visible radiation that has little dispersion over distance. So when you look into the research and the literature on this, you'll see that what I'm telling you is correct. So the disjointed spectral power distribution often contains hazardous blue wavelength light. That's why nobody wants to look into them. And they create a square wave flicker, and they are a human health hazard, and the DOE, Department of Energy, has kept this information hidden from the public. So if anybody is curious about this, they go to the Soft Lights Foundation, which is, for the public, and they actually petitioned the DOE to rescind the 45 lumen watt rule, but the DOE refuses to make their petition public for fear of the public learning the truth. So the only federal agency with congressional authority to regulate electromagnetic radiation emitted by electronic devices, including lasers and LEDs, is the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA. And the DOE has no congressional authority to force LED
Michelle, can you
radiation
wrap it up?
devices onto the public. Yeah, the FDA has not yet published the required performance standards that will ensure the comfort, health, and safety of the public despite the congressional mandate to do so. So, if Lisa cares to, I really do urge her to do so, but that she should, and I did send her information on this.
Michelle, can you
Contact
wrap it up?
Jeffrey Sherman, the director of FDA CDRH, for details on the hazards of LED visible radiation
Michelle, your time
and
is
lack
up.
of regulation. Yeah, that's it. So
Thank you, Michelle.
that's a big thing. May I just also say, because, I've been muted, I could not get on, it's really about Mike Miner, who is a really great guy. I looked at his contract, and nowhere in the contract, unless I'm wrong here, says anything about the audio. And we have had enormous problems with multiple meetings, concerning our audio, either with microphones doing strange things, or, grinding of the microphones, in some cases, people not even being able to be heard or spoken to.
Michelle,
I know Doreen has.
Actually,
Yeah, so
I think we
Can
found
we
the
look
cause
at-
of that. I think we found the cause of that,
Oh,
and it's
good.
being repaired. It's been fixed already, so
Oh, good.
things should be good now.
So, no,
And that's not
All right,
handled by
so
Mike
it
Miner
wasn't
either.
just
Thank you,
the-
Michelle.
yeah, it wasn't just the Verizon problem.
No.
It happened before the Verizon
Yes.
Spectrum thing.
We think we have
So
it fixed.
Mike is a good guy. He would not do any of this intentionally, but usually it's on the most controversial meetings that we have sound problems.
Michelle, thank you.
So please, right, there's got to be something about audio in his contract, not
Michelle,
just
as I
video.
stated before, Michelle,
Right, thank you.
that is not what Mike does. Mike does not run that. He runs the video production. Outside this room is a different company that we call in from the
Who
outside.
does audio?
Anything else?
Who does audio?
Michelle, you want to call me? I will
Who
discuss
does-
who it is.
I'm sorry?
I said, if you would like to call me, I will discuss who it is. And then we can discuss
Okay,
all
all
your,
right, will do.
I can discuss all your problems with Michelle so I can address one-on-one. Thank you. Is there anybody? else?
Okay, will do.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? If not, motion to resume the rules.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I would just like to comment that we're still accepting names from people if they're interested in the police court working group. Please email my office or give me a call. We have received some so far. So we'd like to get them so we can pass them on to the board members to look at them also. If there's anybody out there that still is interested in being part of a working group, please reach out to me as soon as possible. With that, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody, and have a great night.
Thank you.